It's been a long and busy offseason in the Overwatch League, with some huge trades that blew our minds and some that just left us scratching our heads. Today, we'll be going over the moves that every team made this offseason, and we'll be giving a quick summary to find out who's improved, who stayed the same, and who was a little more unorthodox. The Atlanta Reign have picked up some solid Tier 2 talent this offseason. Tank duo Gator and Hawk were instrumental to Atlanta Academy's stunning 28-0 run in North American contenders, and will be filling in the tank role for the Reign. Atlanta's new DPS, Edison, has long been considered one of the best hitscan players in Contenders Korea, and will bolster their lineup as a sub for Baby Bay and Erster. Major departures for Atlanta are Dako, who was being overtaken by Fried in the starting lineup anyway, and Funny Astro, their backup support. These changes have injected some young talent into Atlanta's lineup, and you can expect them to have an explosive start in 2020. Another year, another roster shuffle for the Boston Uprising. Even though their current roster had the caliber required to succeed, strange roster decisions made it hard for Boston, and reports of internal conflict did not help either. Bidding farewell to half of their starting lineup, Boston has made some ambitious picks this offseason. Myunbong was a strong support in Contenders Korea for O2 Blast, and the Dutch tank Brusen popped off at the World Cup to help the Netherlands reach a 5th to 6th place finish. However, other than these two, none of Boston's other pickups were exactly top prospects. Mufin, in particular, is a wildcard, having just one Contenders match under his belt as a stand-in for Team Envy. Still, with the addition of veteran coaches like Mineral and Ilka, their decision to take on some raw talent could see the Boston Uprising pulling off some big upsets this season. The Chengdu Hunters roster only got bigger this offseason, adding a new main tank, Eting, from Pacific Contenders team Nova Monster Shield, and perhaps the best Chinese DPS player, Leave. At the same time, main tank Jiqi Ren and hitscan DPS Yang Xiaolong left the team. Nevertheless, Hunters fans should not be concerned, with Ameng having proven himself on different tank heroes, while both Leave and Bacon Jack are able to play hitscan very well. Overall, while the roster looks stronger on paper, the Hunters will need to find a good coach to see improvement from last season. This offseason has been very good to the Dallas Fuel. They've picked up a Stage 3 champion in their new tank Gamsu, who's a veteran player and was instrumental in the Shanghai Dragons' success in 2019. They've also snapped up 2 top-tier DPS players in Doha and Decay, both of whom are extremely flexible and have a lot of experience playing in big games. However, these changes came at the cost of franchise player OGE, who was traded to the LA Gladiators in exchange for Decay. His departure might sting for longtime fans of the Fuel, but OGE never looked all that comfortable in the GOATS meta, and he might be a better fit on his new team. Overall, the Fuel's revamped front line will be one of the best in the league, and you can expect great things from Dallas this year. Florida Mayhem had a pretty good offseason, and the runaway duo of Yaki and Gangnam Jim will be a key piece in their rebuilding process. Gangnam Jin and Lee Jae-gon were the support duo that helped Runaway win 2 Contenders Korea championships. However, it's unclear how Gangnam Jim will fare with his new partner, Chris. Still, the Mayhem had some major pickups this offseason, and despite shedding 5 players, their new additions are looking to push Florida into an upswing in Season 3. The Charge have picked up a star flex support in Wuya from their academy team T1WGZA, as well as a veteran support main in Neptuno. However, it's hard to see where these two will fit into the roster, as the duo of Chara and Shu has been a mainstay of this Guangzhou squad. The Charge will also be saying goodbye to Hotba, Bishu, and Fraggy, while picking up a new tank in Krong. He achieved good results with O2 Blast in Contenders Korea, and should be able to fill Hotba's place. It's important to note that only having 2 tanks on a roster is a very bold decision, especially with a travel-heavy 2020 season looming on the horizon. They will also have to figure out how to make a roster consisting of Korean, Chinese, and Western players work. They were able to do it last season, and we expect similar results from them this year. The addition of Coldest, considered by many to be the best flex support in China, and his partner Mika from Hangzhou's academy team Bilibili Gaming, should excite any Spark fan. The Hangzhou Spark maintain a solid roster, only dropping backups and subs. Although Crystal is a special case, as he had disciplinary issues and was taken off the team midway through last season. The biggest change for this team is the departure of head coach Supreme. One question is looming over their head right now: whether previous assistant coach Mask will be able to fill Supreme's shoes to get the most out of this talented roster. The Houston Outlaws were one of the busiest teams this offseason, and ended up with a much stronger squad than last year. Arhan and Bani were released, while Jake retired from professional play and will be joining the OWL broadcast team as a caster. In an unexpected power move, Houston were able to snatch up former NYXL off-tank Meko, as well as DPS player Hydration and Blase. Hydration is an interesting pick. He was a tank for the 222 Rollock, but is now known primarily for his great DPS play in heroes like Doomfist and Pharah, making him a highly flexible option for the Outlaws. Plus, a new Korean support line of Repel from the Titans and Jexa from the Dynasty looks exciting. They've also gone with a new coaching staff with Dream, Hureg, and head coach Harsha, who brings a wealth of experience from his time with the Vancouver Titans and the San Francisco Shock. These changes have turned the Houston Outlaws into one of the most exciting teams to look out for in the 2020 season. Another team that went through a total overhaul this offseason was the LA Gladiators. Completely gutting their tank and DPS lines, as well as releasing backup flex support Reaper, it will be interesting to see how the new additions gel together. The new tank line of OGE and Space is one to watch closely, as these two are considered by many to be the best players in their positions, plus LH Cloudy and Bishu also make for a solid tank line. The Gladiators' DPS role is the only question mark, with Birdring struggling through wrist issues last season, and while Mura and Jaru are both solid players, they weren't exactly top prospects coming out of contenders. Still, with the dependable Finnish support duo of Shaz and Big Goose, you can expect this Gladiators team to have some excellent results this season. Big changes came for the LA Valiant this offseason, and every single member of the original team is now gone, and they took the Valiant's fanbase with them. The decision to take on new players that many fans have never heard of has been a deeply unpopular decision, and while the coaching staff probably had a good reason for the roster changes, the departed players are of a caliber that will be difficult to replace. Dreamer and Lastro all come from lesser known contenders teams. Gig had a decent outing with XL2, but was not really considered a top prospect, while Apply and Rain both played briefly on the Mayhem before going back to contenders. Unfortunately, if you were hoping to see the Valiant in the same form that they were in last year, it might be wise to temper your expectations. During this offseason, the London Spitfire underwent a complete overhaul of their main roster. Opting to invest heavily in contenders' talent, every single member of the Spitfire team that won their inaugural season championship is now gone. Ironically enough, the only remaining member of London's 2019 roster is Krillin, who, prior to last year, had no experience above the open division. In fact, the 4 newest members of the Spitfire have just 3 seasons of contenders between them, and all of them were in different regions. They were so unknown that Wikipedia initially did not have a page for any of them, and most of their experience come from Korea's Tier 3. The addition of veteran coach Pavan could help polish up the new talent, but this rebuild is going to be difficult. You can expect some growing pains from the London Spitfire going into 2020. NYXL had a few changes this offseason, saying goodbye to Flower and Pine and adding Who Are You and Mandu to the roster as DPS and support backups. New York also replaced head coach Pavan with IMT. The most notable change, however, is in their tank line. Meko, one of the most consistent off-tanks in the league, was instrumental to New York's 3rd place finish last season, and losing him could be a big blow. However, Hotba has performed well over the past 2 seasons, so you can expect the caliber of this NYXL team to remain about the same, if not better, since the Excelsior have picked up one of the most hyped DPS rookie signings of this offseason in Who Are You. Paris Eternal had a great offseason, and have managed to secure a number of core players from Contenders Korea. They've formed a roster comprised of off-tank Hanbin, hitscan DPS XZ, and the top DPS prospect, Sparkle. FD God impressed at the World Cup with Team France, while No Smite brings some previous OWL experience from his time with the Spark. Coach 9K has experience from his time with the San Francisco Shock, and the Eternal have also picked up former Element Mystic head coach Rush, who will be able to help integrate his players into the new lineup. It's important to note that Hanbin and Sparkle will be underage and ineligible for a portion of the season, so expect pairs to start out slow, but gain steam as the season pushes on. Philadelphia was one of the busier teams this offseason, and surprised everyone with their roster announcements. First was the signing of arguably the best diva in the world, Fury, who previously played for the London Spitfire. Ivy joins the team from Toronto, where he was a strong Zarya player in the GOATS meta, and while Hisu will be underage when the season starts, he already has 2 Contenders Korea Championships under his belt. The addition of Fusion University Flex support Alarm, as well as the Atlanta Reigns 2-way main support Funny Astro, will make for a strong support line. Then there's Chipsa. We don't really understand that one either. Kib and Elk didn't see much playtime last year, so it's unsurprising that they were let go. And overall, we're expecting this iteration of the Philadelphia Fusion to be one of the stronger teams coming out of the gate in Season 3. If it's not broken, don't fix it. The only roster change for the San Francisco Shock this offseason was letting backup off-tank Nevix go to the Toronto Defiant, and adding hitscan DPS ANS to the roster. While ANS is unproven, with no finish higher than 9th place in Contenders Korea, the Shock seem to be confident in him, especially with Coach Krusty at the helm. With such a dominant showing throughout 2019, there's no real reason to change anything up. Expect San Francisco to remain a top-tier team next year with their eyes set on repeating as champions. The Seoul Dynasty had some strong pickups this offseason, specifically the legendary duo of Jester and Prophet. However, they failed to secure the Prophet-Fleta DPS duo, which is disappointing, and breaking up the Toby-Ryuje-Hong duo is painful for many fans to see. They might look to be the same caliber team on paper, but if you're a fan of the Seoul Dynasty, this roster definitely seems a little bit strange to be cheering for. The Shanghai Dragons are unique in this offseason in that they've already participated in one tournament with their new squad, the esports Shanghai Masters, where they beat the other 3 Chinese OWL teams pretty handily. This team has already proven themselves quite strong, and it's not hard to see why. 2 standout names are Void from the LA Gladiators and Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. Li Jaegon was widely hailed as one of the best Lucio players outside of the Overwatch League, and Lip, despite being less well known, impressed at the esports Shanghai Masters. Finally, Stand One joins from Gladiators Legion, and Fearless rejoins the team from the Dragons Academy team, Team CC. They did lose some top players in Youngjin and Koma, but expect their roles to be filled quite well. Our verdict for the Dragons' new lineup? Generally positive. Los Angeles' loss was Toronto's gain, and the Defiant acquired star DPS Surefour from the Gladiators, as well as Agilities and Kariv from the Valiant, making themselves the most Canadian team in the league and also one of the most popular. Of concern will be the tank line of Beast and Nevix, as neither of them have seen much playtime in the past year, but given how much credit the Shock give Nevix for his role in their championship run, they should be okay on that front too. Finally, Kelix joins from Boston, but let's not forget that he was part of the first and only team to ever win all 10 games in a stage, and he's fresh off a top 6 finish with Denmark at the World Cup. Overall, this seems like a stronger and definitely more popular roster for Toronto in 2020. It's been a confusing offseason for Titans fans, as Vancouver let go not only one of the best main tanks in the GOATS meta, but also the main tank who played in every single map of their playoff run to the grand finals. Bumper has been released by the Titans, and no official announcement has been made stating his plans for the coming year. His replacement, Fisher, is a decision that has left many fans skeptical, given Fisher's track record of suddenly wanting out of teams or spontaneously retiring, so it's hard to say whether he'll be there for very long. Ryu Jae-hong is the biggest addition to this Vancouver roster, and while he'd be an excellent pickup for most teams, with Twilight's standout performance in 2019, it'll be interesting to see how much stage time these two will share this season. Overall, with the loss of one of the best main tanks in the game, as well as Tiz, Hureg, and Repel, we're expecting a slight decline in Vancouver's performance coming into 2020. After a dismal debut season in the Overwatch League, the Washington Justice came alive in Stage 4, and are looking to improve on their success this season. Maintaining their DPS core of Corey and Stratus, the Justice have also added flex player Tuba to their roster, along with a new tank in Roar, who will allow the Justice to vary their main tank playstyle, and Aim God, who was one of the bright spots in a struggling Boston Uprising team in 2019. Picking up coaches John Galt from the Gladiators and Supreme from the Spark, as well as former Outlaws support Bani as a positional coach, makes the Washington Justice a very interesting roster to look out for in Season 3. That's it for our review of every team's offseason roster changes. How did your team do? Are you happy with the players your team has going into the 2020 season? Let us know in the comments below.